this is really interesting. Lockco Live, this is actually his first time being restreamed, and he is right there in the running to get into the final four. So this is going to be quite interesting to see.
Yeah, I am curious to see. His times have been solid throughout the event, but we have yet to see him on a restream. So I am really interested to see what he does. In fact, I think a lot of our runners, or at least half of the runners, this will be their first time. I don't think we've seen Flurry before either. So, Radio, do you want to
Well, I
give the
figured.
viewers? Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, we were actually going the same exact spot. While everyone's kind of doing their treasure hunt, let's go ahead and take a look at the flags for this week. We have 8 characters, 12 espers, and 7 dragons to kill. We are starting with 3 characters and one of the characters that does unlock a dragon. So we've got to look for basically one more character, which is either Cyan or Locke, basically to kill that other dragon, and then our usual 8-12 requirements.
Yep, on top of that, the bosses in this particular seed are random rather than shuffled, so encountering a boss does not mean that it's out of the pool. You could run into the same boss multiple times. Additionally, um, of note, Funbaba 3, who is normally relegated to Mobliz, is in the pool, which means the notable thing there is that Funbaba will use an ability called Baba Breath that removes 2 party members and sends them back to the airship at the end of combat. And so, depending on where our runners run into Funbaba, if he's in the pool, it could be a bad time.
Yeah, that can be dangerous. For example, up on the floating continent, if you're heading up there, or like Kefka's Tower, something like that. It can be a very dangerous find, depending on where you find it. Now, the other really big flag that I think we should point out, as people might be going to do some free checks, is that this is progression times 3. So every time that we get any piece of progression, all of the enemies will be leveling up 3 levels. So we've seen now, I think we just saw Locke pick up the Figaro throne check, which will then level all the enemies up. So I'm interested to see where people go here at the beginning.
Yes, and with Locke's choice, I think it's a good choice because Gogo is an incredibly versatile character, especially early on. If you find a couple of rods, you can get a lot more mileage out of them with Gogo in your party. And it will also help with the party averaging as you get more characters. But like you said, it will give the enemies more levels, which could make it harder for him to get those initial levels in the seed.
Especially when we have a couple characters, like we have Terra's sealed gate check that is a free check. So it's really going to be interesting to see if maybe people try and take down a boss with what they find after their treasure hunts, or if they start trying to build their party.
I think interesting to note, Flurry did find the fixed dice in the Figaro basement. I don't think anyone else has gone there yet. It looks like Willard is in Thamasa and Fraggle's in Albrook. So everybody's kind of taking a bit of a different chess route this time.
Yeah, see, it always depends on the characters that I start with. At least for me, with Terra in the seed, I always like to do Narsh last for my treasure checks. That way I can then try and go maybe take out Welk.
Looks like Locke electing to pick up the Zen Esper as well. That could be really good or really bad. That is a good Esper, but
There's also an offering for sale in World of Balance Zen, which could be nice, especially if, say, Flurry finds that with his fixed dice that he found.
and it looks like Flurry is electing to do the Sealed Gate. I think that's a pretty good choice here, just because there are some fixed encounters here, and in this seed, fixed encounters are safe. Ooh, Flurry just grabbing that Imperial camp and then leaving, which is not a bad play. It's right there next to Albrecht, so
Yeah, it's definitely a popular check, especially if you're going to start with Terra. All those chests, the Imperial camp and inside the gate or inside the cave, are very nice to get early on.
oh yeah, especially because some of the chests there can take a little bit of time, but early on, it can be worth it if there's a valuable item in one of those chests. Looks
So
like
this is
Willard
kind of the
is.
swan song. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying Willard is electing to go into the cave, which is, I think, a good choice, and it looks like Fraggle's heading that way too.
So for me, going into this seed, I knew I wasn't going to be anywhere near the top four. So this was what I felt was like the swan song, the season finale, if I may. So this was a really fun one. I like that we ended this on a high requirement seed, personally.
I was worried about some of the flags, but I think that it did turn out to be a pretty fun week. And the randomness of the items and the bosses and everything like that was pretty entertaining. I'm not sure if we mentioned, but the shops are also random, if I recall correctly. So we'll see some wacky things in the shops.
Yep, the shops are entirely random instead of what seems to be the more traditional flag is shuffled plus 20% random. Also, all of the chests are random as well, so we could find almost literally anything anywhere in the seed.
It looks like Fraggle encountering a mammoth and not having a lot of fun with it.
Oh, not at all. They're all taking a nap.
It was pointed out recently that the Mammoth is actually one of the stronger random enemies because in the vanilla game it is actually level 1, so it scales very nicely with the scaling. Unlike a lot of other low level enemies, it actually gets considerably stronger as it levels up.
So we have two people doing the sealed gate check. Locke still doing some shopping.
Yep, and with random shops and with all of the chests that are available in this game, I don't think it's a bad play. You could find something that really trivializes some of the earlier checks.
Do want to shout out our fellow crew here on the Restream team. We have Zelfer, who is tracking for us tonight. He's also in the basically a lock right now for the top four to move on in the finals. And we have a new Restreamer, Jofis, who is restreaming for the first time, helping us out tonight. We see Locke is at the end of the sealed gate, so that is the fourth character now for Willard.
And that is one of the required, or one of the potential dragon characters to get that 7th dragon, so finding that at the sealed gate is really nice.
Oh, absolutely, especially when that was his first check. I would love to see that because that is a relief knowing that you're not just going to be searching for those characters.
Yep, it can be a bit of a slog when those characters are at the end of a long chain, just because you do need to find at least one of them. Thankfully, we did start with Edgar.
That was a late revisement by the flag roller this week, Ravlin, who then switched things up, gave us Edgar to start, which was appreciated. Locke going for that long check there on the other side of the wall. I didn't see what it was, but it's one that I sometimes do go for, especially when chests are completely random like this. It's not a horrible idea.
I don't generally take it. Fraggle using the ninja switch, which is actually something I myself did in this seed to get some early levels. I always like to point that out because it is old school. Yeah, the hitting the wrong switch in that sequence in the sealed cave can be a good source of experience in seeds where fixed encounters are safe, but the scaling is high.
Flurry getting the money together, buying an offering.
Well, I mean, if you have
it can
a
be a
fixed
good buy
dice,
early. Yeah, fixed dice, Valiant Knife. Other than that, I don't really use too much with it.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot else that's applicable to the randomizer. which is a bit unfortunate, but also it's slow. And so in a racing scenario, you really don't want to be relying on the offering unless it's dealing an absurd amount of damage.
Locke taking the fixed encounters inside the sealed gate there with the Von Mammoth and the Lobo.
It looks like poor Rav also getting killed. I know that was my experience trying to level early, but it is because I also took this encounter here trying to get levels. But a Trump auto kill, it looks like, will save Locke from any more deaths.
Now it's just the question on whether they want to try and level Rav up or Mog, and or lose those levels and maybe take Mog out of the party early.
Yep, it always is a question, especially in a seed like this where the equipable gear is random. It could end up that Mog isn't capable of using anything that great, or it could end up that Mog is capable of using everything.
Willard looks like he's deciding whether or not he wants to sell off for some snow mufflers. Everyone can equip them.
Yes, Snow Muffler is a very, very powerful piece of defensive gear, especially if everyone can wear them like this, just because it has really high physical defense, and then the ice immunity is incredibly helpful, especially in the final battle where a lot of the tiers use physical attacks that can be pretty punishing. It's also very helpful if you want to use a Valiant Knife or Ragnarok strategy, because that requires standing in the front row.
Yeah, unlike Illumina, those do not give full damage from the back row.
So it looks like just a
Locke
lot
now
of
heading for the free check.
Oh, yep. So everybody's going to find the character lock, which is good.
Flurry hasn't headed there yet, so I'm still curious if they're going to maybe try and take a battle with these three and get their characters leveled, or go pick up that fourth character.
Yep, I am curious.
Looks like they might be going for Welt.
Might be. That is kind of funny to me that Flurry did go into the Imperial base there at the sealed gate, but didn't actually go in.
So we'll be seeing what Mog's Lone Wolf check is. We also were able to see that it's not a character at the Umaro spot. Narapa is at the Welk spot. Not a horrible boss.
Yep, Narapa's not something horrible to see here, though if your offense is too low, it can be dangerous just because you do have to beat out that timer. You don't have the option to just do your best and keep your party up.
That Pearl Lance will do good work there.
Oh, right, and Flurry has the offering with the fixed dice, so hopefully Tara can get some rolls.
Those weren't great rolls.
Well, it is important to remember that at a low level, fixed dice isn't going to be quite as effective just because your level is weighted pretty heavily in the damage calculation for fixed dice for most things in this game, honestly. But the another Pearl proc takes it down.
Snuck through, Edgar and Tara not getting the XP, but was able to get through the check.
When you end up with a level 10 Mog, and that'll help you hopefully kill some other enemies and get your other characters leveled up.
Willard picked up the fixed dice in South Figaro.
That is a good find. I personally had a hard time finding Phoenix Down in this seed, and so sometimes you just have to let people take a nap.
Yeah, I don't think I actually found Phoenix Downs until I was over halfway through my seed, so I know that feeling. All right, we're going to get a look at what the South Figaro Cave Locke's Tunnel Armor check is going to bring us. Down on Willard's screen.
And it did look like Locke also decided to fight the ninja, so picking up some early levels.
That can be key in a progression times 3 seed.
Flurry finding Tap Dancer Wooly. This is a really dangerous formation, actually. Not what you want to see. Especially
Ooh, and
not
the
when your
fixed
fixed
dice
dice
is
offer and
muddled.
Terra gets muddled. Yeah, that's unfortunate. This is in
Oof.
a very dangerous formation.
Takes a reset. Now, I think all random battles are escapable in this flag set, so they might have been able to run away if they tried.
Yes, they are all escapable. But if the runners don't know that, then that doesn't help them. And potentially they just didn't think to try at the end.
Doulahan at Tunnel Armor spot.
Ooh, and unfortunately, it
That
looks like
pearl was
Fraggle
dangerous.
actually was at the... Yeah, he was at the GP value where that actually hit him. I don't know that I've actually gotten hit by that once in this randomizer, but it does do quite a bit of damage. I think Edgar only survived with a force shield there.
Instead of taking a random battle and maybe getting a level, it looks like Fraggle's going to maybe head up to the Welk spot or Lone Wolf. Willards looks like has having some issues over there.
Yep, this is also a potentially really dangerous formation, so that is unlucky.
Looks like Locke's looking to sell off for picking up some earrings.
And a
And
dragon
a dragon
horn.
horn. I know Boo's in the chat, and Boo's a fan of the Dragoon setup.
Can be quite nice, especially if you found the fixed dice. It's not super applicable in vanilla, but if you give a character with a fixed dice jump, they can jump with the fixed dice, and you don't have to watch the dice rolling animation.
Fraggle working his way through the Narapa.
It does look like Fraggle is working with less offense. I'm not sure if it doesn't look like he's found the fixed dice. So hopefully he will be able to deal enough damage to Narapa here. It does look like he has a Dragon Claw on lock.
Ooh,
If he's really
God,
lucky,
it's up on Flurry's screen.
ooh, I think, is that Kefka at Narsh? No.
I unfortunately did not see right where they were. Tritalk spot. Went up for Tritalk. Thank you, Dakota, in chat.
That is unfortunate. It does look like Flurry was able to take Goddess down. That's some good luck. If you if you get unlucky and you don't roll high on your first fixed dice attack and then she love tokens that character, you can end up without very many damage options there.
That is very dangerous. So we have an Esper at Tritalk.
And that is lucky. You are going to need a lot of Espers, but also a bit unlucky. I think in a seed like this, you're okay with maybe finding a dead check or two early on if they have powerful items available.
Absolutely. On that Esper, on Ifrit, we had Fire 2 and Berserk. Berserk has a wonderful use if you ever run into Magic Master.
Yep, Berserk can also be really useful for getting through Fnatic's tower if you're relying on things like fixed dice, since you can Berserk your own party, and then they can attack in Fnatic's tower. And fixed dice will even do bonus damage for Berserking.
Absolutely. If with a fixed dice and an offering, I'm never afraid to just Berserk that character and let them go to town.
One day I would like to Berserk Genji Glove fixed dice offering kill Kefka in one attack.
Yeah, maybe wait for fallen one and use a valiant knife.
Something like that. You need to do at least 7,000 damage with each attack.
Willard's been taking quite a few random battles here outside of the South Figaro Cave.
And it does look like Flurry's electing to take the dragon, breaking some rods there, which is a pretty good choice.
Yep, dragons are scaled, so they're not at their normal HP and danger levels, so they are capable to be taken out as we move through the scene.
Yep, and Boo pointing out in the chat that Locke does have Morph, and Fixed Dice will also take the damage from Morph. That is correct. I actually attempted to one-shot Kefka that way in this seed.
Locke picking up Starlet from the Lone Wolf check, which has Cure 3 on it. Nice curative magic is always nice to see.
Yep, that is always nice to find.
So that Pearl looks like it's still causing Fraggle some issues.
Yep, unfortunately. Well, and also Dullahan can be a bit difficult to take on early on if you don't have a lot of offense to just kill him right away.
We'll get to see what Kefka at Narsh is from Locke. I believe we know that it is not a character.
Yep, it's a spooky-looking impresario. I think that's supposed to be the ghost.
Fraggle taking the reset on Dullahan as Willard goes into their battle.
And it looks like Locke shuffling some weapons around for this Kefka at Narsh fight, and then electing to take a fixed encounter for experience. In a seed like this, where the scaling is a bit high and the fixed encounters are safe, I don't think this is a bad strategy. You are going to need those levels. You are less likely in a seed like this to keep up with the progression just from the boss experience.
And you definitely, if you're going to try and get some levels from some encounters that aren't bosses, you're going to want to take the fixed encounters because those are random, while the random encounters actually have 20% bosses shuffled in.
Yep. I think our runners so far that have checked random encounters have been lucky not to encounter any bosses, but it is very possible to find bosses there. Fortunately, it looks like Willard also taking a reset there against the Dullahan. This is a bit of a challenging flag set for sure, though, just because the levels can easily get away from you, and the scaling will go up when our runners defeat required dragons as well as getting characters and espers. So as they collect those dragons, even though we'll give them some experience and magic points, it will also increase the scaling.
Yeah, depending on when you choose to fight the dragons, because the longer you wait and the higher the progression gets, the more experience you get from dragons. So if you do them early, you might not be getting the experience that you might be expecting.
So I'll be really interested to see how our runners deal with that. I think taking a couple early on can be very helpful to get early levels, but I personally save my dragons towards the end of my run. So I'm curious to see what our runners will elect to do.
Fraggle now heading into the Figaro basement. Edgar's check. That does have a dragon down there, so we'll see if he decides to take that dragon.
Yeah, I feel like he probably will, and that might be his early dragon to get those levels early on, just because it is kind of a pain to go back to the ancient castle and kill that dragon later.
Yeah, I kind of lump all of Edgar's checks in together, which I guess I should have clarified. The Ancient Castle is the check that actually has the dragon in it, but I typically do all three of his, or two of his, depending, back to back.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty common. Ooh, Willard encountering a Gigantos here, which is very good experience, but very dangerous to fight. We're seeing a lot of dangerous
though. It
enemies.
depends.
Yeah, it does look like he's doing okay with some decent defense here. And control acting as sort of a poor man's confuse.
Oh, we have got the control plays. At least useful for a turn.
Yep,
Fraggle runs into Ultros. I believe this is Ultros 3.
yep, I think that's right. Appropriately surrounded by tentacles. Fortunately, it looks like Locke is not having a very good time with his attempts to grind.
Oh no, he's only got
Petrify.
Terra left.
Yeah, and I've seen a couple of Petrifies and a couple of Pearls, it looks like, coming towards Locke, so that's not really what you want to see.
Willard
Getting
doing all right with the Gigantos fight.
Yeah, this is one that can kind of get out of hand very easily, but Mog here has health, so that'll help a lot to keep the party up.
This is not what you want to find at the rider spots at Kefka at Narsh. 2 Doom Dragons right before the boss.
Yeah, that is
That's a
unfortunate.
reset.
Doom Dragons are scary. But Fraggle getting
I
through
think my
that
least favorite
Ultros, and
battle.
definitely one of them. But Fraggle got a Minerva for that Ultros fight, so not progression, but a very powerful piece of defensive gear.
I will never say no to a Minerva. As long as someone can wear it.
Yep, it does. Yep, I do think that there are actually a couple of people that can wear it. That is one of the funny bits about random gear is sometimes you end up with rare pieces of gear like that actually being more common than they are in vanilla because more people can wear them.
Locke will start taking down his Narapa here.
Yep, and I'm sure he's happy to see that after running into Doom Dragons and all these other wonderful things.
Go and no-go for Fraggle.
Yep, Go-Go can be useful depending on what kind of party you have, but if you're relying on weapons or anything like that, he does lose his usefulness because he can't mimic the effects of other people's weapons.
Yeah, for me, it's if I'm using rods or items, then I like to have them along, especially as well if I have a lot of magic. Ooh, that Narapa taking down Locke.
Yep, that is unfortunate. I am curious if maybe Locke progressed the scaling a bit too much here. But hopefully he will be able to find something to grind on, maybe to get a couple more levels.
Yeah, from what I can see, it looked like his characters were right around the level 11 mark, and all of his enemies right now are going to be right around level 21.
Yep, so that is a pretty big gap, especially because you, as the player, benefit a lot more from levels overall than the enemy does, and so those early levels are really valuable in increasing your power. Once you get up to level 30 or 40, you can be capable of taking care of enemies many levels higher than you, but below level 20, it's very hard.
Fraggle is moving into the ancient castle.
Probably hoping to find some nice items. There are quite a few chests in the ancient castle, and it is free. There's no forced boss, though he will likely be taking the dragon here.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're going to be going for many monster in a boxes here. I didn't either. Once I saw the offering was for sale, the only other thing I really look for from monsters in a box is Minervas from Pugs.
Yep. And I don't generally look for monster in a boxes unless I'm looking for offering, just because even if you find the Pug's encounter, you're not even guaranteed to get a Minerva. So it's a nice thing to find, maybe if you're looking for something else, but I rarely look specifically for Pugs.
And the Doulahan is mean in this seat. Ice 3 taking Terra down.
Yep, it hurts.
Locke made it through Narapa.
And that should help with the levels. It does look like he got a couple more levels there, help him get a little closer to the scaling. Oh, it looks like Fraggle finding Katana Soul in Katana Soul's vanilla location, which is pretty funny.
Especially when they didn't check the monster in a box earlier in the cave. Looks like he just kind of got lucky there.
I guess lucky depends on how you look at it. Katana Soul can be a challenging boss. And I don't think he has access to a traditional Confused. You can't use Control on Katana Soul, unfortunately.
No, but if you can get him, if you can muddle him, you have the chance of just taking him out in one shot. We're about to see the Cursed Shield. How many fights are on that today? 99? No, thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty high in this seed.
Yeah, instead of the 1 to 32, I believe Ravlin made this the original 1 to 256 battles.
Yeah.
Ice Shield or Genji armor? Which would you choose in that situation?
Not sure. Ice Shield will teach Ice 2. And in random equip, honestly, Genji armor can end up pretty useless. I think I picked Ice Shield. When you have Terra, it doesn't matter that much, though, because you just fight Welk, and then you can get the other item behind Welk, the Welk spot there.
See, I actually didn't get Lock in this seed, so I never actually got that choice.
Oh, well, I did, and it turns out nobody can use the Genji armor anyway, so...
So there is a right choice.
It looks like Locke has encountered Doomgaze. It's number 128, which actually might be lucky, because, well, it looks like maybe not.
Ooh, nope, they're gonna reset out of that one.
And Fraggle encountering the Storm Dragon. And it looks like, did he put... Is that the Cursed Shield on Terra? Or it could be a Cursed Ring to teach X-Zone as well.
I'm not sure. I know they did just pick up that the statue at the bottom of the ancient castle gave him a fixed dice. And Algu Mike says it's a cursed ring.
Ah. That would make more sense, especially because X-Zone can be very useful in the final battle, and you want to kind of get that out of the way early on before the scaling ramps up too much, if you want to teach a character X-Zone that way with the Cursed Ring.
It has its uses.
Yeah,
especially if, say, the Zinger flag is on for Rexel, then yeah, you definitely want to know X-Zone.
Yep, and having it for the final battle, if you have no other instant death, can be useful, because there are 2 parts of the first and second tier that are susceptible to instant death, so...
Looks like Locke's gonna talk to the little girl in Mobley's and see what we might be taking away.
Yep, and likely going to have the same exact response I did, which is absolutely yes. This is an interesting case. I actually did this check later because it's 2 random bosses in these flags because Funbaba 3 is shuffled into the pool. So you are not guaranteed to get the Funbaba 3 Baba Breath as the first part of this. It's just 2 random bosses. But the first one, thankfully, is piranhas.
Flurry looks like they're still doing some shop and popping around.
Yep, heading into Zen. I think most of our runners already checked the World of Balance Zen. Oop, and it looks like Illumina is in the World of Ruin Zen shop right there. I did not find that.
That is very nice to see. The only downside is no one that they've recruited has the ability to equip it yet.
That is unfortunate when that happens, but it does happen with random equipment.
Unfortunately, when I found that, I didn't see that no one could equip it and sold a bunch of stuff to buy it anyway.
It's like Fraggle giving that Katana Soul another shot after killing the dragon.
But Terra's still down.
I'm wondering if the strat here is hopefully the fixed dice will kill him, which I don't think is necessarily a bad strat, and then you get an offering for your troubles.
Locke making quick work of Rizzo Pass. Ooh, but an El Nino.
That is actually a very dangerous ability. The base damage is quite high.
Looks like they might try and power through with Edgar.
Unfortunately.
Ooh.
And that is sort of the nasty side of progress times 3 seed like this, is that even some of those bosses that generally aren't that threatening can be very scary, especially if, like Rhizopus, they have moves with high base damage and then get to a high level, because level increases your damage more than almost any other stat in the game.
I think I just fell to the commentator's curse saying they were working their way through all right. Oops.
It happens.
And that Katana Soul does go down for Fraggle.
That's funny. It's Edgar in a Moogle suit. I was so confused. Why are the two monks for a second?
We've got the shock discussion that we've been having over the past few weeks in the community.
Yep, it seems like the thing that everyone has an opinion about.
All I'm saying, you throw some earrings on somebody with that has shock, you can still put out some decent damage, albeit not great damage, but still pretty good to get you through a good part of the seed.
Yep, and it can especially be valuable if there are flags like random equipable espers and things on, because sometimes you don't have easy access to spells on all of your characters.
Everyone kind of in a similar spot right now.
Yep, it looks like Willard is heading to Figaro Basement, and I think Locke is doing the same. And so is Flurry. Everybody probably trying to go take out that dragon. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad strategy, and this particular chain of checks does have a pretty high number of chests available.
Who Dad asking me to ruffle feathers? I'm not the feather ruffler.
I don't even know enough about what abilities people think are overhyped to make one.
X Magic, Possess. Those are the overhyped abilities.
I mean, Possess was overhyped for all of 1 week. And then it just got excluded from every race. Oop, Fraggle finding the Ragnaroks, and it looks like he's already got some money, so buying a pair of those.
Both Mog and Gogo can use them. I'm not sure. I don't think he has Gogo in his party, but definitely 2 Ragnaroks for Mog would be a good find.
That is exactly what I did personally. Genji Glove Ragnarok on Mog. It's the best sword and some of the best armor in the game.
Both Flurry and Willard getting through Ultros 3.
Yep, that's a pretty easy fight if your offense is all right. Ultros doesn't really do anything too threatening until the fight goes on for long enough for a script to really amp up, and that takes quite a long time.
Yeah, luckily it's no Ultros 2 where he can move around the battlefield and have his HP change throughout the fight.
Yep, that fight can actually be pretty scary if you're not capable of killing the first Ultros before he moves around. That was the thing all our runners learned when the normalize and distort stats flag came around.
Okay, so this is the first time I think I've ever seen a runner do the Figaro basement backwards down on Fraggle's screen.
Yep, Fraggle has. We have seen it before on the restreams. It is a pretty interesting strategy to get through here because you do end up, if you find anything that you want to sell or anything like that, you end up much more easily being able to head back into Figaro. But you do have to do it in the World of Ruins, so.
Because the guy's blocking the path. I remember.
So if you do, like I generally like to check the World of Ruin South Figaro anyway, so it can be a good way to check the basement.
Block now on their Ultros 3 fight down in the basement.
Yep, and he will likely have a pretty easy time with it, just like the other runners. This is a pretty easy fight. You like to see it when you're running a race. Most of the Ultros phases are like that, except Ultros 4.
Having access to Fire Dance in any Ultros fight is handy as well with his weakness to fire.
And it looks like Willard taking a nap at Figaro Castle. I always like to point that out just because you don't see it that often.
No, but especially if you're heading down and going to do the Ancient Castle, make sure everyone's good to go for that dragon fight if you're expecting to fight it.
Yep. And I think in this particular seed, it was pretty valuable since the lack of Phoenix Downs makes those full party heals more valuable as a free revive as well.
All right, a lot of characters being found, not a whole lot of espers. So we'll see kind of that'll change how people may do some routing later on in the seed.
I don't think we've seen any of the big characters for Esper hunting, but there are a couple of characters I think that have essentially higher chances to give you Espers with their checks just because they have more checks that can't be characters. It looks like Flurry has Celeste, which is a character. Magitech Factory is a check like that, where the first 2 checks can only give you Espers or items. So I'm curious to see if we'll see Flurry heading for Magitech Factory if they can't find Espers elsewhere.
Looks like Fraggle might be going up. I'm not sure if they've done the Lone Wolf check, but they might be going up for Kefka and Arsh.
I don't think that Fraggle has done Lone Wolf yet. We won't see another bit of the cutscene after this point to verify until he gets up there. But with 5 characters, oh no, this is World of Ruin.
Okay.
Heading up to check Tritalk most likely and get this dragon out of the way.
That's not necessarily the dragon you want to see.
Yeah, Dirt Dragon, not really what you want to see. I think the hope is just that you survive or that you are able to kill him before he does anything too scary.
Luckily got a block off. Ooh, Hone Tusk is only did half damage. He's got some really good defense.
Yep, there was some pretty good defensive gear available in this seed, especially if you're willing to sell items and go back for stuff. So I'm not sure exactly what Fraggle's rocking, but it does look like he's got some pretty good defensive gear, and it looks like a lot of our other runners do too.
Fraggle gets through the Dirt Dragon as Willard takes on the Wind Dragon down in the ancient castle.
Yep, and it looks like we've got double Storm Dragon for Willard and Flurry, and then Locke finding the Katana Soul.
So yeah, all three of them, Locke, Flurry, and Willard, all doing the ancient castle at the same time here. But Locke resetting out of that Katana Soul fight.
Yep, and it could be that he just decided he didn't want the offering, or maybe he wants to try and tackle the fight a different way. But I personally think just opting out of the offering isn't necessarily the worst choice. It can be a pretty hard fight if you aren't decked out for it appropriately. He might elect, like Fraggle did, to do the dragon first to get some levels, since the Katana Soul will not increase the scaling when you kill it. Unfortunately, it will go up in level when he kills the dragon.
Fraggle encountering Goddess at the Tritox spot.
I'm curious to see how he'll handle it. The fixed dice offering can do a lot of work here, unless, like I said, the Goddess love tokens you right away, and then it can be pretty unfortunate.
Getting some good rolls, and looks like they're trying to power through. Everyone else looks to be using their abilities instead of regular fight attacks.
Yep, that's a nice safeguard, since that means you won't end up with one of your other characters attacking Edgar, but it looks like he did roll high enough to kill Goddess there. Flurry taking down the Storm Dragon. It looks like Willard on his way out of the ancient castle as well. And Locke found Phoenix Downs.
That is definitely a relief in this seat.
Yep, there is life available on Espers, but I think it isn't until a little bit later on in the seed. So, yeah, it is really pretty vital to find those Phoenix Downs so you can get people up off the floor. Speaking of Berserk fixed dice, I think we've got some Berserk fixed dice on Willard's screen.
Edgar's a little angry.
You wouldn't like him when he was angry.
I wonder if we can change that color to green instead of red.
I'm sure there's some way to do it. Right, it looks like Fraggle heading to the Fanatic's Tower, which is a bit surprising. But maybe he just wants to get the dragon out of the way.
Yeah, he doesn't have Strago, so he's not going to intend to completely complete it, I don't think. Might just be popping in, taking the dragon down.
Yep, well, he may have realized that he has that Berserk, and so want to take advantage of that with the fixed dice offering. So I think all of our runners have found Berserk on one of their Espers at this point.
It looks like Fraggle doesn't have their Moogle Charm equipped heading up into the Fanatic's Tower.
I am curious to see that.
They're trying to build up Berserk on Terra so that she'll learn Berserk by the time they get up there, I think.
I see. Yep, it is a bit of a dangerous strategy, and maybe Fraggle realizing that here. Just because you could find a boss there, and he does not have a lot of magical offense options available.
One of my least favorite monsters in the box over on Willard's screen, the Master Pug. But he's dead now. Yep, looks like Fraggle opting to take those battles outside the tower so that he can actually use fight commands.
Yep, it looks like that was a much better choice just with the enemy selection as well.
We'll see how many magic points. He gets 5 magic points from it.
Yeah, it's not many magic points, but it is a pretty easy encounter. So while it could take some time, not a bad strategy, but it looks like Fraggle might be deciding, I'll do a boss or something and then come back.
So all of our racers are actually really close still as we are nearing an hour into the run. No one's really pulled away. No one's really kind of leading the pack heading out here.
Yep, I am curious to see what's going to happen. I do think that this seed opens up a lot with Celeste, one of the early characters available. She's got a number of checks available, and then there are actually a fair number of characters available here. So I am curious to see if we'll see the routes diverge. But so far, everyone is pretty close together, and um, they're on pace for a good time here too.
It just kind of looks like how the Espers are going to shake out. Willard's dipping into Phoenix Cave, first to head there.
Yep, I'm not necessarily surprised to see this early. Phoenix Cave can be a bit slow, but there are chests available here, and there is no forced boss fight, so in a seed like this, I think you just kind of get it out of the way whenever you can.
And they're bringing a full party in, so it looks like they're anticipating to take on the dragon, as Fraggle's looking to get his golem after the piranha fight. I'm not sure what the boss is after piranhas.
Yep, I did Mobilis, but I don't recall what was after piranhas here, so I guess we'll all find out together.
Locke will pick up an offering from his Katana Soul fight.
Alright. And it looks like some spells from the 25 magic points as well, which is always nice. Oh, wow, that was a
Big rolls for Edgar.
Yep. That was easy piranhas for Fraggle, and then we get to see what's behind door number 2.
Flurry also opting for the Ice Shield from the Ragnarok check.
I think it's a pretty versatile reward, just because if no one can wear it, you can always break it. Ah, Guardian.
Not really what you want to see as a second boss here.
Yep, I think Fraggle's going to have the offense to deal with Guardian here. You really just want to be able to kill him before he gets into the other battle routines. And having Bolt 2 and Fixed Ice offering is going to help him with that a lot.
Absolutely, and it's worth it knowing that you're getting Golem for your reward here, which is one of the most sought after Espers that we're going to find due to its usefulness in the final battle.
Yep, and I also think that it's not something we encounter often, since normally Funbaba is here, but it actually makes this check pretty valuable for experience and magic points, because you fight 2 bosses and only progress the scaling once.
And you don't lose 2 members of your party heading into the second boss fight.
Yep, so if the second boss fight is something challenging, like the Guardian in this scenario where you want to kill it quickly, you're not risking losing your big DPS. Fraggle takes care of that pretty handily.
Flurry has also decided to make their way into the Phoenix Cave.
And it looks like Locke wants a rematch with Dullahan in Tunnel Armor.
I can't blame him. Taking a look at his levels, I saw at least two people at level 23, which if it's a I didn't see his gold amount, but hoping that that level question mark pearl either hasn't advanced to pearl or doesn't hit his characters.
Yeah, it looks like actually looking at the flags, the enemy abilities are original, so it will always
Ah,
be level question mark pearl, which is a small blessing here. Because that spell definitely
misses
loses a lot of
everybody.
its threat. Yeah, misses everybody, and then you start with the fixed dice offering.
This should be no issue.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of gambling out of the rest of this seed, I anticipate. But I think most people are going to be able to take care of most bosses here as long as they play it properly.
I'm curious because it's kind of become the new meta is to pop into the Coliseum and see if you can get anything easy out of there. We haven't seen any of our runners do it yet tonight, but I'm curious to see if anyone checks it out.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we'll see it in a seed like this. It can be really helpful with the new tiered chest options where you end up with a lot of low tier items to run and take them and try to turn them into something better in the Coliseum. But with random shops and random chests, that's less attractive.
About to see what the dragon is down here in the Phoenix Cave on Willard's screen.
Another storm dragon. And Locke taking out the Dullahan successfully there, to the surprise of no one. Oop, and we got synchronized rages.
And a blue dragon on Fraggle's screen.
I always kind of think that the blue dragon is the more annoying version of the storm dragon, so it's funny that we've got all these storm dragons and a blue dragon.
After Locke picks up his Celeste, looks like he's going to go down and check and see what's down in the basement as Willard gets through his Storm Dragon.
Yeah, and it looks like teaching Quick and Berserk to as many characters as possible, which is definitely not a bad strategy. Quick is a pretty busted spell. And finding that Illumina from that dragon, which only Go-Go can equip here, unfortunately.
Still useful on Go-Go, though. You can put the fight command on him and still have it be as useful as on anybody else. And it gives good evasion.
Yep, and the stats are actually pretty helpful on Go-Go since you may be mimicking spells or casting spells or any number of things like that, and it sort of gives a wide spread of stat bonuses, so it's actually pretty helpful on Go-Go.
So we have Realm now was in the South Figaro basement. Locke picking her up. Murder Child.
Yep. And finding the other fixed dice, which I'm sure he's sad to find that now instead of earlier, but hey, now he's got it at least. I'm surprised to see him put the Realm in his party immediately, but it could be that he just wants to level up different characters or maybe see what everyone has equipped or who has natural magic as well.
Flurry wrapping up his Phoenix Cave.
Yep, and getting an Esper for his troubles on top of the Dragon Kill, which is always nice to see, and that's a Palador. Palador can actually be a pretty useful Esper to cast in some scenarios, because you can jump over some pretty scary attacks with your party.
Just takes good timing.
Fraggle's got a cat hood in his inventory, so I find in a seed like this buying cat hoods to be very valuable since it gives you more GP from winning battles.
Especially when you come across good defensive items like a behemoth suit.
Yep, well, and cat hood is also a very powerful defensive item in its own right, being one of the only shields that gives you both evade and magic evade. Or helmets. I think I said shields.
Yeah, especially when there's not a whole lot of top tier helmets, at least in my opinion, in the game itself. It's nice to kind of pick up some good ones.
Yep, I mean, I'll use a green beret or something like that with evade on it for most of the game if I don't have to stand in the front row, because most of the time evade is more valuable than just the raw defensive stats.
Willard going to take on the Piranhas as Flurry heads to the top of Narsh.
I'm not surprised to see so many runners opt for this golem. It is a really valuable Esper, and starting with Terra, it's always kind of a wonder, like, hey, what's the little girl worried we're going to take away this time? Looks like Fraggle heading out to take out the Opera Dragon.
Yeah, this will be his 4th dragon, so he really only will need to do one more after this before the 2 in Kefka's Tower if they choose.
I'm curious to see if he does that dragon now or if he waits to try and ramp up the scaling before killing that last one to get some bonus experience before Kefka's Tower. It could just be with some of the powerful spells on Espers here, he wants to use all those magic points to teach everyone as many of those spells as possible.
Berserk really doing some work down on Willard's screen.
Yep, I am loving all the Berserk strategies. That is one of the things I myself did here, and I really like to see it. It is a pretty powerful strategy if you have good gear for it. And that additional Storm Dragon going down easily.
Boo calling for more Dragoon in the chat, but we're not seeing any of our runners tonight really go for that strategy.
Yep, I think Boo himself pointed out that the Dragoon boots are only in one shop. It's like World of Balance Nobles, and we saw Locke buy a Dragon Horn in preparation for that, but
you can also always find a character that has jump as one of their commands for it.
Yep, that is a possibility with random commands or random unique commands, but I don't think that any of the easily accessible characters in this seed have jump. I'm not sure, because with random commands, instead of random unique commands, you can end up with characters that have duplicates, so...
Willard now making his way through the Guardian fight as Locke takes down the Wind Dragon.
Ooh, big scary Welk.
It can be scary if you're using that Genji Glove offering combo because you can't decide which, or you can't choose which of the 2 targets to attack.
Yep. And I think I saw Flurry start a fixed dice offering attack, so I'm really curious to see what happens here. With original abilities, it's not quite as scary, but if scaling is on, it can be terrifying. And that wasn't too bad.
No, and Celeste having double Ragnaroks put out some really good damage, especially with 2 flare procs there at the beginning.
And Fraggle heading into Phoenix Cave, so it looks like he's just going to take care of all of his dragons all at once.
A lot of our runners taking the same route. I know there are multiple routes to get through this seed. I did not take the route that our runners are taking tonight, so it's really interesting for me to see at least what's out here.
Yep, I also took a bit of a different route than the runners are taking, so it's interesting to me as well. Especially since all four of them seem to be taking roughly the same route.
Willard now opting to possibly check out Fnatic's tower here.
Yep. And again, with the easy or with the powerful spells available on some of the early Espers here, I'm not that surprised to see people confident enough to go into Fnatic's tower, especially with
Especially,
Berserk.
yeah, I was just about to say, especially since he's been using that Berserk strat, I think he'll get through this dragon no problem. As Welk goes down for Flurry.
Yep, not that surprising. Most of the time, Welk is just a bit slow if he decides to hide in his shell.
We have
And we've
Ghost
got a
Train
Ghost
and
Train
Esper
on lock
Mountain.
screen. I wonder if we'll see the suplex. There it is.
We have a valid run.
Yep, that is a valid Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide run. The train has been suplexed. It looks like Lock has been upgraded to Genji Glove Fixed Dice offering, so you'll love to see it.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite strats. I know it's there are people for it and against it, just because I mean each dice roll takes about 3 seconds, so you're looking at about 24 seconds for each fight command. It can for a lot of the speed runners, the people that really like to go fast. I think they tend to maybe not go for this strategy.
Yeah, I personally like to use it with Berserk primarily, or to just use the Genji Glove Fixed Dice without the offering, just because you retain the ability to target it, and it doesn't take quite so long. You're not committing quite so hard.
Willard making quick work of that blue dragon.
Yep, not that surprising. And it looks like Locke taking care of the Ghost Train pretty quickly as well, which also is not surprising. That's not a very threatening boss. And it looks
Nope.
like Flurry heading to Magitech.
This is a good check. I like this check because, especially when you're looking for more espers over characters, you know that two checks in here are going to not be characters, and you can warp out after that instead of fighting that long final sequence just to possibly get a character that you might find really quick elsewhere.
Yep. And it's also pretty quick to go through. If in the second area you don't decide to pick up all the chests, you can pretty much just go straight to Ifrit and Shiva very, very quickly once you get into the factory here.
Taking a look in the chat, Matthias talking about fixed dice, allowing you to do a lot of damage in a low level run. While it does, you do have the opportunity to do so. The lower level you are, the lower dice rolls you're going to have. So you could end up just rolling a bunch of sub 100 hit point dice rolls and have it not be as useful as, say, a better weapon could have done.
Yeah, because of how the damage calculations work with the fixed dice, the main draw is actually that it effectively ignores defense. At a lower level, you're still not going to do super high damage, but it's just the number it says on the tin. It can't be reduced by anything the enemy does.
Willard heading into Gogo's cave, opting to bring in a full party, which is kind of debatable whether or not the time that you're going to spend waiting on an engulf here will actually equivalent to going onto the airship, taking your party members out, going and doing the check, and then changing your party members again. So it's debatable which might be quicker.
See, the real risk is that the Zone Eater is going to cast Demi 15 times,
over and over and over again.
which I actually saw once on Zelfer's stream.
For anyone who may be new to Worlds Collide, I did just post up the website and our Discord in the chat if you would care to join us. We, especially over the last few months, have had quite a few new people join us. We're always looking for to grow our community, and we've got a lot of helpful people in our Discord. So please come join us and feel free to give this a shot. This is a lot of fun.
Yep. There's lots of people willing to help you out, and even if you just want to play for fun, casually, there's lots of people that just really like this game, that know a lot about it, that can answer any questions you might have.
I played this casually for quite a few months, actually. The only time I actually started racing was when the KGP started, so we are very open to casual runners as well.
Yep. I mean, just a few months ago, I was submitting 4-hour times to the Seed of the Week, and now I think I'm in top 10 for KGP or close to it. So there's a lot of people that'll help you learn. That's what I attribute it to. Lots of people that'll help you out.
So Locke has also decided to come in and do the Magitech factory, but he's actually going and getting quite a few of the out-of-the-way checks. I haven't seen anything super worth it. But again, when chests are completely random, that's not a bad decision.
Yep. Well, and even if you just end up selling those items for things you found in the shop, it's not necessarily a bad time, and the chests aren't too far apart here, though it does take a little bit of time to go and pick those up.
About to find it. What's at the end of Zone Eater down on Willard's screen?
Yep, and I think Fraggle just went and checked the Welk spot for the alternate Ragnarok check item, which he's going to be sad about when he finds out no one can wear it.
Another Guardian down in the factory.
At least it's appropriate for him to be here in the Magitech factory. It looks like Flurry just a little bit behind Locke with that check.
A little ahead, actually. I just didn't see that Flurry took the Guardian so quick.
Excuse me, you're right. Locke is in the Ifrit and Shiva spot. They have the same background, so I get them mixed up sometimes.
Ooh, and trying to knock Celeste out of her muddle over on Flurry's screen, procced a Pearl on her.
It's not what you want to see.
Overflow, definitely the dangerous ability in this number 24 fight.
Yep, number 24 himself is pretty much a complete pushover, but Overflow can be scary, especially if it's someone using a weapon that ignores defense. And Fraggle electing to do that Kefka and Narsh check.
Yeah, at 5 Espers and 5 characters, I can understand wanting to, if this is an Esper, to go down and see at least what you're going to be up against.
Yep, it's a bit of a long check, but if you are looking for fights, or if you're just looking for Espers, it can also be pretty easy, especially because you can just avoid the fixed checks, or the fixed encounters, or like Fraggle is doing here, sort of force your way through them when it's all escapable like this.
Edgar has a Valiant Knife on. I actually never found Valiant Knives in the seed.
Yep. Well, the Ifrit and Shiva spot was a Valiant Knife, and there are also Valiant Knives for sale, I want to say, in World of Balance Albrook or something like that. No, excuse me, it was Miranda that had Valiant Knives. World of Balance Miranda.
Ah.
I bought
Number
one there and
going
then
down
found
for
out.
Flurry. Not bad if you have a Genji
Yep.
glove.
Yeah, well, there were 3 Genji gloves I found here, so I was set. But yeah, Flurry taking down the
Seeing
number
some
24
quick
and getting the
strats
mad
on
one.
Willard's screen.
Ooh. I love seeing quick. It's such a weird ability to use, especially for the first time, but it definitely is pretty powerful.
Flurry's opting to do the last segment of Magitech. I'm curious if Locke will as well.
I think in this particular seed, it's not a bad choice just because with all escapable encounters and guaranteed random or guaranteed normal enemies in the fixed encounters, you can just run from all the fixed encounters if you really don't want to fight them.
It's always a toss up for me on whether or not I want to do 3 fixed encounters and 2 boss fights for one more check.
Yep, I definitely think in a seed like this, where our runners are going to end up at a really high level, they'll likely elect to do some things like that just because they're going to get quite powerful. I know I was a pretty high level by the time I got to the end of this seed, and so far it seems like that's most people's experience. And so you can sort of take choices like that because you know you're going to do a lot more damage and kill things pretty quick.
Willard making his way through Doulahan.
But it is interesting to see that even though our runners have taken really similar routes, in a lot of ways, it does seem like Fraggle so far is focused a lot more on the dragons than the espers and the characters, at least in the early part of the run. And I wonder how that's going to work out for him as the run goes on.
I guess if we had to say, we could say Flurry might be in the lead, but it's still super close between all 3 of our runners.
Yeah, the Esper number can be a bit misleading because there are a couple of checks available that can get you Espers pretty quick. So if any of our runners haven't elected to, for example, buy the Zen Esper, or haven't spent any time in the auction house and someone else has, they could really easily just go to the auction house and get both of the Espers if there are 2 available within a couple minutes, and bam. And it could be just that simple to change the standing by quite a few numbers. Characters generally are gated behind longer checks, so.
Locke heading into the minecart as Flurry looks to finish this up, looking like fairly quickly.
It's funny to see Air Force in the the minecart area here. Really not where you expect to see Air Force.
In what you might expect to be an underground tunnel. Yeah, I don't think that's where you belong.
Yeah, not really. Well, maybe that's why he died so quickly.
Flurry going to take a quick save and probably heal up a little bit before this last boss fight.
You actually get healed at the start of this boss fight.
I
If
need
I
to
recall
remember.
correctly.
I do believe you're correct. There's a few story heals that I don't quite have memorized yet.
Yep, and some of them are really weird, like that one, because rather than doing it after the minecart sequence when you can actually see that you've been healed, they do it right at the start of the battle, which is really strange. You also get full healed after Phoenix Cave, which I don't really understand because you're just done with Phoenix Cave at that point, but I guess it's so none of your alternate party members go back to the airship without full HP or something.
I kind of appreciate that, seeing as I typically avoid the switches in Phoenix Cave, and most of my party members are at 1 HP.
Yep.
Flurry taking on Flame Eater with Ice 3. This will be no problem.
Yep, quick fight. That's always one you love to see when you already have a strong ice spell, because Flame Eater very weak to ice. Yes, that is correct, Beowulf. After the first part of the Air Force sequence in Floating Continent, you do get a full heal. Ooh, and Fraggle taking on Dullahan. Guess he finally
Going back
decided to
to
come take his revenge.
Yeah, might be running out of checks, and knowing that this might be a character check, and we know that Celeste is here, this will help give him more checks.
Yep, Celeste doesn't have people's favorite checks, but she has quite a few checks available at the end of the day.
Flurry heading to Esper Mountain, gonna find the ghost train.
Yep, I do think it's a little funny that we are seeing some of the runners take the checks a little bit out of order here, and I imagine that Flurry's Phantom Train will look pretty quick, but taking that moment to suplex the train, so also a valid run.
Fraggle making it through Dullahan.
Yep, not surprising to see it at that level. Taking out 5 of those dragons early on definitely gives him a bit of an edge when it comes to taking out these bosses, because he's going to have a lot of spells and levels at his disposal.
Multiple suplexes for Flurry.
Well, I mean, why not? And it looks like Fraggle electing to give Celeste a check really quick and then deciding, nah, I don't think so.
Yeah, once you kind of have your party set and good to go, it's almost better to just kind of run with what you have once you have all your equipment figured out.
That's certainly what I do, especially when I already have some pretty valuable and powerful offensive options available. In seeds that are more restrictive, it can be very helpful to look for things like natural magic or powerful abilities.
Fraggle's going to start his descent into the Magitech factory while Locke goes to check Terra's Zozo check. First time we've seen that tonight, I believe.
Yep, I believe that's correct. And Willard heading up to Esper Mountain to fight his own ghost train.
And Flurry's heading to Celeste's Opera House. So these are 2 checks we haven't seen quite yet.
And I think the ghost train just berserked the fixed dice wearer, so assured his own death there.
He's going to have a bad time.
I'm curious to see if Flurry finds anything interesting in the fixed encounters here. There's not too much threat with bosses outside, with no bosses in the fixed encounters, but there are still some scary fights you could find here.
These aren't fun fights. I always like to avoid the veteran fights as well. But again, with it being all escapable, if you have some smoke bombs or you just decide to run away, you can always just skip over whatever you find here.
Yep, that's very true, and it looks like Flurry elected to use a smoke bomb.
Never a bad choice. I like to stock up on a few of them, especially when the escapable all flag is on. Ooh, we've got the Stooges up at the top of Zozo.
And I think Locke's level will be enough to deal with them here. And having Ice 3 to get rid of the red brother, whose name I can't remember, is always great, so he can't cast life on the other guys.
I believe that's Curly.
You're probably right.
Willard also heading for Magitech, so we'll have both Fraggle and Willard down in the Magitech factory in a moment.
I'm interested to see if Fraggle elects to take the minecart. Um, but I guess we'll find out in just a little bit.
Locke's going to pick up these 2 chests here at the top of the tower, and then we'll see what. Ooh, an Aura Lance is always a nice find, and Shadow is our reward for the top of Zozo.
And this is another kind of nice one in a seed like this. He's got a free check, and then as much as people don't like fixed or floating continent a lot of the time, fixed continent, isn't that the truth? It still does give you quite a few actual checks to check.
And it's another one of those that allows you to, after the first 2 of 3 checks, you can go back to the airship and skip over the final portion.
Yep, if you want to leave after you fight the Atma check, you can just leave.
Flurry making quick work of the boss in the Opera House. So quick, I didn't even see what the boss was.
I'm more interested to see what the reward is, because I didn't do this one.
Ah, it was Dad. And
well, that's why it went down so quick.
Locke now heading to the Opera House Dragon in the World of Ruin. As Flurry now heads into Zozo to probably fight these stooges at the top.
Yep. I know I tried to go to Zozo earlier, but I actually ended up having to reset out and come back.
Yeah, stooges can be dangerous. If you can't get Curly down, they can start petrifying your team, and they all have their elemental spells. It can be a dangerous fight if you let it get out of hand.
Yup. And that is exactly what happened the first time I tried, so I left. But it looks like most of our runners decided to check it much later in their progression than I did, so...
Fraggle opting for the minecart.
I guess that means everyone took the minecart.
And Locke getting an experience egg for the dragon at the end of the Opera House, or dragon in the Opera House. I was curious to see if anyone might go for that maybe a little early, because as you go later in the seed, the experience egg loses a lot of its glimmer.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that's much more powerful early on. I'm curious to see how we'll see people use it, since I imagine most of our runners are going to find that experience egg at some point. I think Fraggle already has it as well, so... I personally found it pretty powerful for my Valiant Knife Edgar, who ended up with 9,999 HP max.
Not having the Valiant Knife, I threw it on my fixed dice user to try and get their levels as high as possible for having better rolls.
Yep. Not a bad strategy either. It looks like Locke getting himself engulfed, well, demied right now, but trying to go down into the Zone Eater check.
A check that I tend to try and avoid, not because of Zone Eater, but because of those darn green guys that just won't go where you want them to go.
Yep, the Zone Eater bouncers, those guys are so rude, and they are the worst. They're the hardest boss in the game.
Flurry taking down Stooges with no problem as Locke finds tentacles in a in a random encounter.
Oof.
Tentacles not too bad. I just don't like to run into tentacles early because once they grab you, they just suck the life out of you.
Yep, early on, especially because that C's ability has a flat damage that it deals, and so when you are lower level, it really, really hurts.
Meteor will get some damage across the board here, though. That'll help.
And Fraggle taking his turn with the suspiciously placed Air Force.
About to get a look at Shadow's check at Gao's dad's house.
Another spooky impresario to hand out dragon horns.
They're nice if you have somebody that already has jump, but as we've talked about, we haven't run into anyone, and the dragon boots are quite rare in this seed.
Yep, I do believe there's only one place to buy them, and oh no, Willard had Edgar overflowed. I think he
lucky,
just rolled 9,999 damage on Go-Go. Well, he hit himself, so yeah, he hit himself towards the end of that, so he unmuddled himself. But yep.
Yeah, taking the reset there. I can't blame him at all.
That is unfortunate. You hate to see it. That is exactly the character you don't want to get muddled there, though.
Flurry moving into the Cave on the Veldt, another of Shadow's checks, and also another check that you can see as you move through the cave, at least if the reward's going to be a character or an Esper.
Yep, that is pretty helpful, just because it is one of the checks where you will actually see a piece of magicite sitting on the ground if it's an Esper reward. So if you are really in a hurry, you can tell if it's going to be dead or not.
And it's Sabin. It's probably not what Flurry was looking for, but Sabin does have 5 checks, so he kind of opens up some quick ones.
Yep, he is tied with Terra, if I recall correctly, for most checks that a single character unlocks. So, but some of them, especially something like Imperial Camp, which is one of Sabin's quicker ones, can actually kind of double screw you in a scenario like this, where if it's a character, you actually have to fight extra fixed encounters to unlock the character and things like that. So,
and I also don't believe you can't really get out of the Imperial Camp once that's started.
Yeah, you absolutely can't. Because of the nature of Sabin's scenario in the vanilla game, you can't leave.
Locke heading down for his golem.
Yep, and I think Locke was one of the racers that we saw come here earlier and see the golem and give it a shot, so hopefully he'll have more luck this time around.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the Rhizopass got him with the El Nino.
Yep, that really high base power spell that enemy has for some reason.
So we see Flurry opting for Barren Falls for the first of Sabin's checks.
Yeah, this is a pretty nice one, and you get healed at the start of this fight as well, so...
Let's see what's falling down the waterfall today.
I hope it's something really comical. Ooh, a hiding in the hiding.
Yeah, they don't belong here.
Silly
now this can get dangerous
beast.
with a...
This isn't... Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. With a lot of people with multi-target attacks and say the offering and whatnot, you definitely you kind of want to kill a few of the little guys, but you don't want to kill all of them because then that opens up the door for Grand Train, which is Haydn's basically his best ability, which will do a lot of magic damage across your party.
Yep, and it's basically Ultima, so you don't really want to see it. And it looks like Flurry electing to just kill Haydn, which worked out there. Celeste with the double Ragnaroks doing some work there. And I think Mog also has double Ragnaroks, taking advantage of the many Genshi gloves in this seed.
Never a bad choice. I'd say Ragnarok is the number 2 weapon in the game.
Oh, Fraggle also suplexing the train, so that means another valid run.
And it's not a character at the end of Barren Falls. We have Stray.
So Flurry getting pretty close to the Esper requirement here, but does still need a couple more dragons.
Yeah, he'll need to fight 2 more. He's heading to Collapsing House.
I actually don't favor this check later on, just because even if you don't want the chests, it does take a little while to run through the house. And at this point,
Especially when...
I wonder if we'll see. Yep. Flurry just resets out,
Yep.
which I think is exactly what I would have done too. So
the only thing I would have thought about there is, okay, well, I could, Mount Colts isn't that long of a check, and there's a dragon there, so you could use your core party and get all that experience on your core party, but I totally understand he's already 1 character above the requirement and just kind of getting out of there.
looks like Locke heading into the auction house.
Yeah, he's got his character requirements as well, so he might just be trying to look for some quick, easy pickups here.
I don't think it's a bad strategy. And with the cat hoods in the shop, it's pretty easy to get the money together to do the auction house, even if you don't want to spend a lot of time selling stuff.
Fraggle's gone his way to pick up his final character for requirements for Shadow.
And it looks like Flurry heading to get Golem.
Yeah, all he needs is Espers, and he knows this is here, and Golem's... I don't think anyone's found Fenrir yet, so Golem is a nice one to come across.
Yep, and it looks like Willard going to be fighting that inappropriate Air Force. Ooh. Did Locke? I think Locke just got both of... Oh no, I think that's still his first one.
Yeah, I think I saw a treasure chest on the last one.
I just forget how long that auction house animation takes.
Gonna head in and do Owzer's Mansion.
Finding a hero ring and Owzer's lucky pot there. It's actually pretty valuable here. Hero ring, a pretty good relic. And that is not what you want to see.
No, you never want to run into any of the level magics when, at any time, I would say.
They can be quite dangerous. They do a lot of nasty things.
Fraggle making it through the Stooges.
Not too much of a surprise. Fighting those Stooges later on is generally pretty easy, as long as you have a couple of elemental spells available.
As Flurry goes into the second fight.
Another Guardian. There were a surprising number of repeat bosses in this seed, and especially with the Storm Dragons, it felt very repetitive.
Absolutely, but I want to remind everyone, keep their eye out for Funbaba 3. Wherever he may be, he can be a... we at least know... we haven't been to Floating Continent yet, so that's always a scary spot to run into him.
Yep, and there are still a couple of scary places he could be hiding. Looks like
A
Gao
character
is
at
in
the end of
Bowser's.
Bowser's Mansion.
That explains why I didn't find him. Ultras 1 here,
Yep.
though, so it should be pretty quick.
That unlocks a fairly quick check with the dried meat check, and then a longer, less desirable check in the Serpent Trench. But there is no boss in the Serpent Trench, so all depends on what you're looking for.
Yep, I imagine at this point with Locke's levels and sort of where he is in the progression, he is trying to get to go mode as quick as possible to start his dragon hunt, I would imagine. But I imagine also when you see that Ultras 1, you say, sure, I'll take that experience and that money, and you just go ahead and buy another Esper at the auction house.
Oh, do we have Fraggle up at the Floating Continent?
I do believe that Fraggle is in the Air Force event.
Yeah, it's at the end of Magitech. No? Why would?
Oh no, I mean at the beginning of Floating Continent, where you get attacked by the Imperial Air Force.
Okay. As Flurry heads into the Imperial camp.
And the mean, evil impresario is here to scream that he's not a waiter.
With his slightly green hair.
Apparently the Empire is employing ghosts now, which explains a lot about their success.
Oh, and everyone's favorite, Strago, is the character, which is
That was a
quick
really fast
for
reset.
Flurry.
That was pretty funny, but I understand it. You're sitting at 11 Espers, you want that dang Esper.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him head over to the auction house. I think this is about the only time that I typically look to go to the auction house when I just need one to get me to go mode. It looks like it's
I actually went kind of early. Oh, and Fraggle finding the surprise Magimaster, but I believe at this point he's probably fine. Since everyone's got Berserk, it's a pretty easy fight.
Yeah, that was a very nice early Esper to find. It just kind of relieves you if you ever run across this battle.
Yep.
As Locke picks up the dried meat check. Getting Bismarck in Life 3 for his efforts. Life 3 can be useful. A lot of our runners have golems, so they do have that calmness protection, but Life 3 can also be used to get you through calmness in the final battle.
Yeah, it's also pretty nice if you're using Valiant Knives, because you can leave a character at low HP with Life 3 on them to take advantage of the Valiant Knife special effect, without them being at risk of actually dying.
I think we're going to see we'll see Locke warp out probably of this cave on the Veldt once he sees that Sabin will be his reward.
Yep, it's always a sad one to see, but at least this particular cave is pretty quick. Fraggle taking down that Magimaster.
We have a ghost train in the mountains.
Hey, why not?
And a tunnel armor after Magimaster, where Air Force usually is over on Fraggle's screen.
Falling tunnel armor just doesn't seem right somehow. And I guess
I
Locke
don't know what he's
decides
gonna
that he
tunnel
likes
up there.
Sabin.
Sabin with Barren Falls and Collapsing House isn't that long. He does have a couple quick checks, especially with Collapsing House. He'll see probably that it's Cyan and not decide to go in.
You could also be thinking of doing of unlocking Bum Rush for Terra, which is a thing that you can do once she's learned all of the previous blitzes and you have Sabin.
Yep, I believe as long as she is above level 42, she can go pick up that bone rush.
Yep, and I think he has Wind Slash at this point, so I think she's at the level required.
We have Setzer at the end of Mount Colts.
Not really what you want to see.
No, but we do get 2 quick checks out of him. You can check for Doom Gaze, and you can also go to Collingen and pick up that check. So he's got a couple quick, easy checks that you can hopefully find an Esper quickly.
Yep, that is definitely true. Looks like Willard fighting the level 30 magics. It's a Atma Weapon V-Knife Genji Glove offering.
I was about to say, he's got an Atma weapon equipped. That's not something we see too often in the randomizer.
It's kind of funny to me to see it with a Valiant Knife, since they essentially have opposite effects, and it looks like he decided to switch that out with fixed dice.
Flurry now, I believe, at go mode minus the dragons after picking up Shote and Collingen.
Yep, that is, yeah, a little over on characters, but just needs to go and fight at least up to 5 dragons before going into Kefka's tower.
So it looks like he's heading to the Opera House. I'm not sure if he's done Narsh yet. I believe he's done Fanatic's Tower.
Yeah, I think it's Opera then Fanatics. I think Takata in the chat is right. I think that Flurry did Tritalk already. And then the 2 character dragons, Edgar and Lux.
Speaking of dragons, Locke taking on the Dirt Dragon up at the top of Narch.
And Fraggle finding another goddess. But I think he will likely have a pretty easy time with this one.
Oh, the love token does get out.
But it doesn't matter. So Locke taking care of his Dirt Dragon, it looks like.
And Willard
Flurry
making
finishing
quick
off the
work
Storm
of
Dragon.
Ultra SWAT.
Yep, that's a pretty easy one, especially if you have Bolt 3. Little known fact, Ultros 1 is very weak to Bolt.
Yeah, I never really remember a lot of the World of Balance, at least the early World of Balance, the weaknesses, just because you typically don't have magic at that point in the vanilla game.
Yep, and so sometimes it's one of those weird things where, like, oh, Ultros is really weak to Bolt. You can't have it by that point in the game, but he is. And Fraggle encountering a Boris, which is actually a kind of annoying enemy. They're pretty evasive for physical attacks, so...
Opting not to run from these battles, though.
Could be hoping to get some more levels in a flag set like this. I think the intent is to basically blitz the final boss by getting as high level as possible and just bulldozing through it to try and save time, which I could definitely understand because you're going to naturally gain a lot of levels with this sort of progression scheme.
Love token coming out for Welv on Goddess on Locke's screen. But Locke's not blocking the Valiant Knife.
Interesting. That is also what happened to Fraggle.
I'd be more interested to know more about how Love Token works.
Yep, I really don't know a whole lot about it. I just am glad when she doesn't use it, and am happy when I beat her even when she does use it.
Number 128 going down for Fraggle. This will wrap up the floating continent for him.
But Flurry taking on the blue dragon here. Looks like the Fanatic's Tower Dragon, and just making quick work of that as well. So Flurry is now ready for Kefka's Tower.
I don't think his levels will be an issue, but I'm interested to see at least where he's standing before he heads in. 5,000 XP or health points for Edgar, though. That's hefty.
And Fraggle is also in go mode, it looks like.
Yep.
He is actually
Lock
ready
is
to
up.
enter the tower now because he did those dragons.
So it looks like we'll have two runners heading into the tower. And Locke opted to take Collapsing House even after seeing Cyan out front. So
Yeah, that is interesting. But unfortunately, Flurry's going to have to fight the stair boss before being able to actually tackle Kefka's Tower. So Fraggle's going to get a little bit of a head start here.
yeah, if only you could use warp stones in this tower.
Yep, and while it makes sense in vanilla why you can't, it is still a bit of annoying to us in the randomizer.
Yep, Flurry heading into the tower now.
Alright, well that is nice to see two runners real close together and everyone else just right behind them as well.
And people making good time. This is not a seed with requirements that are easy to get a sub 2 hour. I don't know that anyone actually has a sub 2 hour time on this seed, so everyone's really making good time.
Yep, this is really on pace to be really pretty competitive times from everyone so far. Willard does look a bit behind, but unlike the rest of our racers, I don't think Willard has been to the auction house or anything like that yet, so there are a couple of espers that he can pick up from quick checks that our other racers have taken advantage of. So,
Well, he is heading to a check we haven't seen just yet in the Serpent Trench.
I'm curious to see if he's intending to run away or actually fight these fixed encounters. Oh, it looks like Locke is going to mount Zozo.
Yeah, he might be trying to take out another dragon here, as this will be the last dragon that he would need before heading into the tower, unless he decides to take one more for the XP in his core group.
Well, it could end up being a good play if Mount Zozo is an Esper here. It would basically put him into go mode all by itself.
Flurry taking on Tritalk as the first boss on their way through the tower.
This is kind of a rude boss to find here. Flurry will be fine, but if you don't have access to defense ignoring or fire magic, it can be really, really hard to beat Tritalk.
And he can be annoying as well as if he starts to freeze your party down.
Yep. Unfortunately, Locke finding a cat hood there, not the last Esper he needs. I mean, not that you're sad to find a cat hood all the time, but at this late in the game, you kind of want that last Esper.
No, but he will opt to fight the dragon while he's here.
And that's not surprising to me. Get it out of the way while you're already here.
Willard opting not to take the chaser battle that then turns into three. Are they troopers? I don't remember what they're called, but that's a fight that transforms into more little guys to fight.
Yep, that's one of the fights that I definitely always avoid. It looks like Locke going down to another blue dragon, so it's just blue dragons and storm dragons all the way down, except for that one dirt dragon, huh?
Yep, and we had an Aegis shield at the end of Serpent Trench, so that was a dead check. Not what Willard wanted to see, I'm sure.
It's always unfortunate when you are getting closer towards the end of the requirements and you just can't find those last couple of checks you need.
Especially when you go to such time, such time sinks as far as checks go.
Yep, for sure. Looks like Flurry finding the Ice Dragon, which I'm sure he's excited to see after all the Storm and Blue Dragons. Though then it froze two of his party members, so maybe not.
Not too dangerous, but can definitely prolong this fight with those freezing of characters. They're chilling out. Looks like Fraggle's got the pieces he needs to get through the Tritalk battle as well. And another Northern Cross.
That's unfortunate.
Luckily it missed, so still attacking with Valiant Knight and making their way through.
And that is the Ice Dragon down for Flurry. It looks like Fraggle relying on some Meteor casts, but hey, it ignores defense. And Locke checking out Doma to see what's there.
I saw Willard sell an offering and looking to pick up some Valiant Knights.
Interesting. And it looks like another Dullahan and Doma.
Should be much easier this time around.
Yep. I know there are more bosses than this in this game. Where are the other ones?
It's been a lot of Goddess, Dullahan. Haven't seen any Spicy Chicken.
There were a couple Guardians.
And a Skull Dragon's
Dragon
going to be
the last one.
Ready, and Doma gets Lock Ramu. Not very useful though, only HP plus 10 and a couple spells that aren't so great.
Yep, but that does put him in go mode. He is ready to head to Kefka's tower as soon as he wants. I'm curious to see what he's doing.
Might be doing some last minute shopping. He might remember something that's here that he might want to pick up before heading in.
Very possible.
Dragon going down on Fraggle's screen.
He's making pretty good time here. Not surprising though, when levels get this high, even with the scaling, things just start to die very quickly.
Especially when you've come across offerings and fixed dice and Ragnaroks for sale. Like you've definitely got the weapons to kind of burn through most bosses.
And it looks like Willard is taking his turn at the Stooges.
And we have Locke heading straight into the tower.
Alright, so we got 3 runners in the tower then.
All 3 sub 2
I'm
hours.
honestly
These are good times.
Yeah, really, I am a bit surprised with the flags this week. I thought it would be a bit dicier, but there are quite a few runners that are already there, which is pretty impressive.
The Cadun timer's starting to run low on Flurry's screen, but it's not an issue.
Yep, thankfully managing to get rid of that blind and Celeste dealing the final blow there. And Fraggle heading on up to the switch puzzle after fighting his last dragon.
And
Flurry
Willard's
already there.
Berserk's after getting it done on the Stooges over there.
Yeah, I can't imagine he'll have too much issue with most of the bosses with a strategy like that, though it is a bit slow. Flurry reset.
Oof.
I didn't see to what, unfortunately. Ah, spicy chicken. Ah, Moogle Charm
Found it as
boss.
a
I
random
see.
encounter.
That is unfortunate, especially because this save point is pretty far back. I do believe that Flurry is going to have to refight both of the dragons, unfortunately. Oh, he forgot to put a Moogle Charm on his first party. Oh, just one dragon.
No.
You're right, Dakota. Yes, I actually noticed that he had done that, but forgot about it when I just said that. Because normally I don't.
That is about worst case scenario. That is not what you want to find in a accidental random encounter.
Yep, I mean, appropriate place to find him in Kefka's tower, but really not what you want to see.
Tritalk putting Realm to sleep, not in the way that she can't cast magic. She's taking a nap.
Yep. She just wanted to lay down for a little while. She's young.
Kefka's
You can't
tower
blame her.
is a tower. She's a kid. Let her take a nap from time to time. No problem. Willard now just 4 Espers away.
Yep, and hopefully Flurry here will be able to make quick work of the Skull Dragon and just move on. It does look like his Skull Dragon fight is going better so far.
Yeah, it looks like he's just relying on Celeste with her Ragnaroks to get through this fight, which is a really good choice when you're throwing for 6,500 points a swing.
Yeah, last time Celeste got hit by Disaster and got imped and confused and all of that fun stuff, but it looks like this time may avoid that.
See what's that Guardian on Fraggle's screen? Ghost Train again.
Another Ghost Train. And Locke taking his turn against the Ice Dragon. Oh yeah, that is lucky here. Later on in the game, things like Muddle are very, very scary. And Fraggle demonstrating what Boo pointed out in chat, that you can cast Doom or Instant Death on Ghost Train.
Edgar fighting his way through the Ice Dragon.
That looks like it was a bit of a bloodbath, but
And another offering at the end of the dragon on Flurry's screen there. Wonder if that last offering's going to get put to use on any of our runners.
I know at a certain point I just had like offering overload. I don't like having that much untargetable damage on my team, so
I still had an Atma weapon around in my inventory that I hadn't sold, and I'm like, you know what? My levels are high enough. My HP's high enough. I can make this work.
And now you see him, now you don't. Dad in one of the statue slots.
Dad's been going down quick in this seed.
Yeah, well, the HP scaling can really only do so much. He's not a particularly threatening boss most of the time.
First statue down for Fraggle. 2 more to go. And from what I remember, they're fairly fun.
Yes, very fun. That's a good word for it.
We'll put it that way. Rando's gonna rando.
Is true, Rando is gonna Rando.
Willard opting for the floating continent, which will give him a couple of the espers that he needs for go mode.
What was just going on Locke's screen? His
I do
screen was
not
like
know.
pink and
Yeah.
deformed. Roll back the tape. No, I'm kidding. Since it's live, there's not really any good way for us to just easily see what that was. So, and here is Funbaba. Spoiler alert, it's Funbaba 3, and it looks like Fraggle trying to kill off some of his characters, and then not succeeding. He hit Realm with physical attacks there.
Fraggle knew exactly how he wanted to handle this once he saw who this was. I did not.
I was very lucky that it was a one-person party here. It was just one person with a dead second person wearing a Moogle charm, so I didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I had two people in mind, but they were both alive at the end. And Terra stays. Whew, that is lucky, I would say.
Yeah, because I think Realm had fixed dice there, but I think he had just put the fixed dice on her so she could be helpful, not because she was actually a valued member of his party.
Unfortunately, he loses those fixed dice heading into the final battle if he was deciding to use them.
There were a couple available in this seat, so it could just be that he decided, hey, Willard just petrified his own party member and is now running away. I don't know why he did that.
And Goddess didn't go very far, actually didn't go far at all. She is in her vanilla spot, as well as everywhere else in this scene.
Yep, hello again, Goddess. Flurry getting to his own dad fight, which I imagine will also go very quickly.
And about to see the boss up on Floating Continent for Willard. Which is Magimaster, I believe. Yep.
Super fun fight. But hey, Willard would be set to deal with a vanilla Magimaster fight, so I'm sure he's fine with it.
Choosing to Berserk Edgar instead of Magimaster there.
No, it looks like Life 3 and then Berserk Edgar to keep him alive, and then so he hopefully kills the Magimaster, I imagine. At levels like this, you're not as much at risk.
Sorry. Goddess going down for Fraggle. I believe that's his last statue.
I think so. If you do it in the sort of traditional route, I think you always fight the Goddess slot last.
And Locke catching up pretty quick here.
Yep, and Flurry just right behind. So I think it'll be a close one. If anyone has any missteps in this final battle, I think it'll really be telling for them here. Like, you could really mess it up.
We might have 3 of our 4 runners all in at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very close together. Though I'm not sure what order that Flurry has done his statues in. If you've been enjoying the race, and you have been enjoying our commentary even, you can follow the runners and us as the commentary staff.
And of course, if you would like to join us, I will put up the website and Discord link for you to become part of our community. We'd love to always have more people join us and learn more about Worlds Collide, It's a really fun game. Atmatech, who is the developer, is always super open to new ideas and pushing out updates, and is really devoted to the project. And can't thank him enough.
Yeah, it really is. He does put a lot of work into it and put a lot of time into getting feedback from the community. So it's pretty awesome. Fraggle, the first to start the final battle here. So probably going to make quick work of it. I think he's already doomed the left arm here. So
Yep, and looks like he may have taken out the head already.
yep, that is phase
Yep,
one
and is
down for
moving on.
Fraggle. Photo finish for him. That was quick.
And Flurry finds Foon Baba 3.
And the question then becomes, does he know it's Funbaba 3, and does he know what to do about Funbaba 3? Thankfully, if he hasn't put any gear on his alternate characters, it's very likely that Funbaba will just kill them for Flurry here.
Lock now one statue down. Edgar at level 74 with that Valiant Knife is going to be doing a lot of work moving forward.
And it looks like Flurry got to keep Terra as well. Fortunately, Fraggle does not seem to be having the best time with phase 2 here.
Now, is that 3 characters frozen and 1 muddled?
It's 2 frozen and 1 muddled, but the muddle just casts like life 2 on magic or something. Like just a completely wasted turn.
Oh, and Remedy doesn't solve muddle.
No, unfortunately not. I think Terra here is maybe using gear that makes her difficult to hit.
Locke letting Gao and Go-Go take a nap so that they get brushed away by Funbaba. That mantra didn't does that not cure poison?
No, she cured phase 2.
Oh no.
Yeah, she cured the boss, which thankfully it looks like, I think that the damage that Fraggle deals here is going to be enough to get through that damage from the mantra heal, but it is kind of funny. And Flurry heading
This is
into
about
his
as
own
hectic
final
as a
Kefka.
phase 2 goes.
Yeah, this is this is not fun. But quarter, so Magic is getting mad.
Yeah, you just hope that if you leave Magic to the end with those quarters, that you don't run into a Merton in the next phase. But he still looks like he has hit up.
Yep. Maybe the hope here is kill hit, and then 10 hits will definitely hit Terra at least once. Oh, and then Terra spiraled. Oops.
That is rough.
That is basically the worst possible thing she could have decided to do there.
I think he still has the damage to be able to pull out the rest of this fight, but that is just
Yeah,
not what
you
you wanted
just-
to see.
You hope Terra doesn't have Golem in this scenario.
Oh, don't
Maybe
jinx it.
Fraggle is hoping that Terra didn't have Golem. Well, I mean, I can't make it so he doesn't put it on her. You know, it can't possibly be my fault. Hopefully he didn't put it on her, though. That would be so sad.
Locke making it through Goddess as Flurry is attacking phase one.
Oh, it looks like Fraggle has Golem. I saw a flash of it there. I mean, he's got life 3 anyway, so he could have gotten through it, but you like to see that when you don't just get messed up like that.
Been a long time since I've seen
Flurry heading
Spiraling.
on. Ooh, Flurry heading on to phase 2 as Locke enters his own final battle.
All three of our runners going to be on phase one, phase two, and phase three at the same time.
It's kind of funny. Looks like Sleep starting to spam Train and Meteo. Oof. I always hope to get rid of Sleep before he starts doing that, because those status effects are very annoying.
Yeah, especially if he ends up double meteoing you as a counter and then for his turn.
Yep, it can do quite a bit of damage, and the Train can make it hard to get your party up, because you can't use your spells as easily.
Yeah, and losing Terra, he lost Mantra, which can really kind of help wipe Train out.
Yep, you just mantra'd the enemy.
Looking okay, though, on Fraggle's screen. Good recovery, getting locked back up.
Yep, and getting the Golem out. I think he was just trying to get the eye drop on Edgar so that he wouldn't miss with the Valiant Knife attacks.
Yeah, because unlike in vanilla, blindness actually does have an effect on your accuracy in Worlds Collide.
And Flurry
gets
heading
through.
on to his own phase 3. Yep. Everybody just
Fraggle.
kind of phasing.
Locke is wrapping up round one here.
Alright, and a whirlwind out of phase 3 for Flurry, which is not a fun thing to see right away.
Especially when it hits 3 out of 4, since it doesn't have the highest accuracy.
And
Locke
Fraggle
moving.
heading into phase 4. I'm really curious to see how fast this dies. Phase 4 is kind of a joke if you have a lot of offense.
It is, but if you get too far ahead of yourself and try and down him before that first counter phase, you might end up facing an ultimate counter. But he's already hyperdriving, so he's not far.
Skipping the fallen one.
I think this might do it. No? Flurry's on to final
Flurry.
Kefka now.
They're just nipping at each other's heels here, yeah.
Good game, Fraggle.
Alright. Good game, Fraggle, for sure.
Fraggle coming in with a final time of 2 hours, 18 minutes, and 49 seconds. Might see if we can snag him for an interview. Flurry now onto the hyperdrive version of Final Kefka. Edgar going down, but luckily life 3 is on. And the Dirt Dragon going down for Willard. Oh, getting a desperation attack out of Edgar there.
Not always what you want. When Edgar's got the Valiant Knives on, you really don't want him to use his desperation.
And Flurry making it through.
Congratulations, Flurry. Just right behind Fraggle there. Really, really good finish.
Really close there, too. And now we have Locke heading on to phase 3. Flurry coming in with an official race time of 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 19 seconds. Alrighty, and it looks like we have Fraggle joining us here. Fraggle, welcome on in. Good game.
Thank you. I cannot believe I actually finished first on this one. I honestly thought, no practice, I'm going to be last.
We expected these seeds to be a little bit longer with the higher requirements. Any thoughts on the seed or any difficulties or highlights?
Well, I had a bit of a rocky start doing some exploratory encounters and checks, but after that, once I got the ball rolling, I got the initial levels of the first dragon. That was it. It was just, well, what was Edgar? Near level 70 by the end of it?
I think 71.
Edgar was near enough Kefka. It was just, once it got going, you could pick up steam quite easy, plow through a lot. And it didn't hurt finding a fixed dice early, Ragnarok's for sale, Genji glove, getting a Valiant knife off a dragon. It's like all the gear was there to make it easy.
Yeah, I think you were the first to down a dragon, and I think that kind of helped you get ahead of that progression ×3 scaling that everyone had a little bit of difficulties there early in the seed.
Yeah, that was my general plan, was try and down 1 or 2 dragons before doing the big run-through checks, and it seemed everything panned out for me.
We do have Locke just finishing up, so all 3 of our levels finishing within about 10 minutes of each other, which is awesome for the seed.
Yeah, especially with the likes of Flurry and Locke, who have been throwing in fantastic performances all Grand Prix. It just shows how tight it is, and when a seed comes together, it goes perfect.
Any thoughts on Fumbaba 3 being in Kefka's tower?
I honestly expected it when I seen that flag, which is why I was, as soon as I seen Fumbaba, I was trying to kill the other 2 off, but luckily he got rid of Realm and Shadow. And then I think the funniest part was Terra, when confused, decided to spiral herself away in the middle of me Kefka fight.
Yeah, you don't get to see Spiraler too much.
Yeah, it was almost as if she said, yeah, I'm done now. See ya.
I've served my purpose.
She did.
Alrighty, Fraggle, is there anything else that you would like to add? As we are wrapping up, this is, for many of us, at least myself, our last part in the Kefka Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's been a great 8 weeks. I mean, there's been some fun seeds, and then there's been that week we do not speak of. May it live forever in infamy. But apart from that, it's been cool, and I will say boo Jack and duck out so Flurry and Locke can say their stuff.
Awesome, Fraggle. Well, once again, thank you, and a wonderful run tonight.
No worries, thank you. Praise at me, boo Jack.
Alrighty, thank you very much, Fraggle. While we wait to either get Locke in here or have Flurry pop in, just waiting to see if they pop in the waiting room. We'll bring them in for an interview. All right, we have both of them. I'll go ahead and bring Flurry in first since they finished first. Just a sec. Alrighty, joining us, our second place finisher on the night, Flurry. Flurry, good job in there.
Thanks. Finally, it took 8 weeks for me to come up with a run that I'm pretty okay with, but hey, here we are.
Keith McRock's put in the chat, you are actually currently in the top 5 for the week, which is a really good time. Anything that's under 2.5 hours, I think, for this seed is a really respectable time.
Yeah, that flag set is so close. It's so close to being like really, really, really good. But yeah, that was fun. Little unlucky with shops. Then a silly mistake with the Moogle charm, and got lucky with Baba Breath. And that was kind of it. a lot of shacks, but I imagine everybody did a lot of shacks.
Yeah, and that poltergeist was definitely probably not what you wanted to see.
No, I was like, oh, just don't be a boss. Just don't be a boss. And then it was not only a boss, but it was that boss. So, yeah.
Any
bummer.
highlights or lowlights as you ran through tonight's seed?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
No worries. Any highlights or lowlights from tonight's seed?
I mean, this was probably one of the best starts I've had in practice, and getting the fixed dice and finding an offering early. The tough part for me to figure out, really, for this tournament, but this flag set especially, was getting over that curve. And little unlucky as far as like my characters didn't all live through the first few fights, but the block on the fire 2 was really nice. So that was kind of lucky. But yeah, I was actually able to get ahead of the curve, and this could have been like a really good time. But then Phoenix Downs, why you got to be in like the 15th shop I check?
I think there were only like 2 or so shops throughout the tonight's seed, so those were rare to come across. Do you want to say though, Willard is now in go mode and heading into Kefka's tower?
Illumina's not being equipable by any of the first few characters was sad, but the Ragnaroks made up for that. And yeah, otherwise, like, I thought it was a pretty standard seed. Like, this was probably one of the nicer starts that's given to me. Like, a health character right off the rip, it's super great. And yeah, like, would have liked to have done checks maybe a little different. But like, one nice thing about this flag set is that it really kind of wants you to manage your experience, the level cap, boss fights, and freebies, like, to get a good rhythm. So that's what I really like.
Well, for a lot of us, this is kind of our swan song for the KGP. Any thoughts looking back on the 8-week event as we move into the Final Four?
Well, I couldn't get lucky to have this be a survival pool and manage to survive as long as I did, but I think I'm sitting somewhere in 10th, which is probably right around where I'd expect. I appreciate all the work that went into this event. Like, you guys are doing a absolutely killer job. Had a lot of fun during this, and look forward to whatever it is you guys have in store after this.
Awesome. Flurry, any last minute thoughts, Vaughn, for our runner Flurry here?
No, just GG's. Great run, great time. Everyone beat my run tonight, so.
All right, thanks, guys.
Awesome. Have a great night, Flurry, and we'll look forward to seeing you maybe on some of the community races.
Go Flames.
Alrighty, and we'll pull in Locke here in just a sec for an interview. And our third place finisher on the night, Locke, thanks for joining us.
Hello, thank you.
So, what are your? Well, first of all, you hadn't been restreamed before. What's your thought on the experience?
I mean, to me, it's a normal restream experience because I've been restreamed for Link to the Past, Final Fantasy IV, Super Mario RPG. So, to me, I'm used to it already.
Well, we're happy to have you and have you be restreamed. Any thoughts on tonight's seat?
I don't like it. I found the dice so late.
Well, what? So you found the dice late. Anything else or any highlights throughout your run?
I like some of the dragon kills where the dragon was already dead and Locke just decided to keep rolling like over 8, 9Ks on him. Because I'm pretty sure one of the times he rolled like a 5K when it was nearly dead, and then just kept rolling high, like killing that dragon, making sure it's dead.
He had to make sure.
Yeah.
With your finish, look, I believe you finish. You're currently in fifth, but it's kind of shaking out to where you have a very likely chance to be in our final four. And congratulations for that.
I still don't know how.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Keith is correcting me. He's seventh on the week.
How am I in the top four? I think it's just the earlier weeks. I think the earlier weeks were really strong. That's probably what it was.
Any thoughts so far as the event as a whole, the whole 8-week event?
It's been a lot of fun. It honestly has been a lot of fun. I feel like a little too long. 8 weeks is just a little too long, but otherwise, it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Vaughn, do you have anything you'd care to add?
No, just congratulations. You did a really good showing. I think this is one of the first times you did a lot of races in Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide, so congratulations on getting a really good time and doing really well in the event.
Thank you.
Awesome, Locke. Well, thank you so much for stopping in for an interview, and again, a wonderful time.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me here as well. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to seeing you. I know we haven't gotten a time necessarily picked out for our final four, but as we move closer, everyone can kind of keep tabs on Randomania. We will have our final four going next week.
All right. Sounds good.
Awesome. Now, Willard looks like finishing up a battle there in Kefka's Tower.
Willard making his way through the Inferno fight there, and then will be making his way through the rest of Kefka's Tower. Still a pretty respectable time, all things considered. I know this week gave a lot of people a lot of trouble, so still a strong finish here, especially compared to how this seed could have gone for a lot of people.
Yep, all of our racers are on track to beat my time. I know that for sure.
Yeah, this week was definitely a week that was challenging, especially for people that weren't as familiar with the higher requirement runs or some of the stranger flag settings. So I think it was a little bit fitting as a final week just to sort of show everybody just how chaotic the randomizer can be.
Yeah, it looks like Willard's taking the fast path through the tower, not going to pick up any chests, even the ones that are right on his way.
Yep, that's pretty common for me, especially in a seed like this where you end up with such high levels. It's really unlikely that you're going to find an item in Kefka's Tower that really makes a difference to your Kefka's Tower experience. There have only been a few seeds where I really found powerful stuff there.
Well, especially when throughout the seed you've picked up your Ragnaroks, your Illuminas, you know who can equip those, so what else are you really going to find that's really going to help you get through the rest of these fights?
And it looks like Willard electing to Merton, which does get rid of your other party members, but dealt quite a bit of damage to the Skull Dragon.
Yeah, luckily I don't think Gogo and Sets are in his final battle plans.
So you hate to see that disaster, though thankfully there's no one else for Terra to hit, so... And the reason Terra looks like an impresario is because she's imped.
This is definitely the impresario seed.
Yeah, I did actually appreciate that. It was pretty entertaining to see all of the different impresarios. But the Skull Dragon fight not going super well for Willard. Hopefully he's able to bring it back. Gogo is up, so if the condemned timer counts down, he will be okay. But electing to use the Cure 3 with Gogo's shared magic pool instead, I think that's a pretty good choice.
And the Fire Rod might do enough damage to just end this right here and now. Nope. So it looks like he might lose Celeste here just because Disaster is going to take up a couple seconds.
At least there's another party member up to get Terra up, so she doesn't just stay on the floor forever and you don't get annihilated. And it looks like Gogo has double Ragnaroks, so going to be capable of doing some damage.
Now it's just a race against the time. Well, but he's going to use life and get Celeste back up for Terra.
I think it makes sense. Gogo is pretty squishy, though it looks like Terra's pretty squishy too. Not
This
having
is
a
a
good
little
time.
more rough than I think Willard was expecting here.
Yep. That is unfortunate. I think most of our runners had pretty good luck with the Skull Dragon, but can be pretty annoying with those disasters.
And no procs off the Ragnarok.
That is unfortunate, and then that'll be a reset.
Oh. Hopefully not losing too much time here.
Yeah, I think it shouldn't be too bad, because I think that was just right after the Inferno spot. Yep. It looks like Willard actually using the save bug glitch, which is present in vanilla, to save just before fighting the dragon.
And totally accepted throughout the randomizer community.
Yep, that is one of the glitches that we do not mind people using in races, because it's in vanilla for one, and it is pretty minor overall.
So we've got another shot, another chance to get through.
Fortunately, it looks like the concern is just no easy fire spells. That was the intent behind the Merton before. And it looks like Willard is going to try a different strategy this time.
I'm curious how Fire Dance would do as far as a spell and how much damage that would pull with his current levels against the dragon.
Dragon is very weak to fire, so it might be worthwhile. Gonna quick Go-Go and then use that for some life 3s.
And looks like he's going to try that Fire Dance.
I don't think it's a bad thing to check. The dragon, I mean, with the levels that you have at this point, the dragon will likely go down pretty quick. Even to a lower tier
Oracle's
spell
also
like
fairly
that.
useful here.
Yeah, Bolt as well could be a good choice. Terra blocking the disaster. Unfortunately, Willard messed up the Blitz input. That's sad.
He is putting out more damage this fight, though. He's going to lose Go-Go, but it shouldn't be that hard to bring him back up.
Well, and Go-Go had life 3 there, so looks like it does not even matter.
Fire Rod for max damage, not quite enough.
Ooh. And Terra suplexes herself, which is an interesting choice.
She's got mad hops.
That's pretty impressive, all things considered.
Luckily, it also knocks her out of it.
Yep.
Oof, another
It's
disaster
really not
here.
having luck with this. Yeah. It's really not what you want to see, and those poison rods are not going to help you.
No, this is a 7 dragon, so 7 out of 8 for Len the Cat in chat. So he does need to get this dragon down in order to proceed.
Yep. In order to progress past the switch puzzle in Kefka's Tower.
This is just being mean.
Wow, Go-Go blocking both of those hits. Yeah, this This is an unfortunate skull dragon. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does happen, it's sad to see.
Luckily, the Life 3 on Terra will at least get her back.
Yep, but unfortunately, the imp really messes everything up here. Hopefully Willard will be able to get through this. It is a rough fight here. It looks like just lacking that easy fire spell really makes this fight take longer.
And Len the Cat, yes, I do believe ribbons would help in this fight. Looks like Willard's going to take a reset out, maybe re-equip some stuff and try this battle once more.
A ribbon would protect from the other status effects, but not the condemned. But condemned isn't really the concern here because he's got a life 3 to deal with the condemned, so it's mostly just the other status effects.
That muddle, and that's probably the one that he wants to avoid.
Oh, he was
the most.
using Excaliburs on Gogo, and now he's swapped Gogo to the Ragnarok Illumina. That will likely help. And Terra with a
Absolutely.
ribbon. Yep, that's a pretty good play here. It will help Terra just consistently deal damage rather than having to worry about constantly getting confused and imped. And now Gogo can get those nice Pearl procs.
Which are going to help immensely in this fight.
Yep, that was already a huge amount of damage just in that one attack from Gogo. So while the Ragnarok will deal reduced damage for being in the back row, the Illumina will not.
And that looks like it's just going to berserk Gogo and hope for the best.
I don't think it's a bad strat. You get one good hit here and it can be considerable amount of damage.
Especially when he's already gotten one Pearl proc and the max damage fire rods. This should be going okay for him.
Looks like this is just a much more successful fight overall, especially with Skull Dragon just not using as many of those disasters. And yep, there it goes. It's really easy to forget playing this randomizer that dragon can be very scary if you don't have fire or Pearl spells available.
Gets an offering for his trouble.
Yep, this really is kind of the seed of offerings. There was Fixed Dice, Valiant Knives, offerings.
All sorts of physical damage. And there wasn't a whole lot of magic either. I don't believe Ultima was turned on. There wasn't a lot of level 3 elemental spells around. So that was definitely helpful in this seed.
Yeah, I got a couple of the level 3 spells, but there wasn't easy access to things like Merton strats or other sort of top tier magic strategies. Now Willard will take on the Ice Dragon, which likely will be a pretty relaxing change of pace after the Skull Dragon.
Just need to get some MP on Realm there.
Yep. While the Ice Dragon has some annoying abilities, it is much less likely to just wreck your whole day like that.
Shadow putting out some solid damage.
Of course, they both have snow mufflers on, and so the Ice Dragon is just a joke.
No threat whatsoever. Or as in the name of DT would say in chat, free.
All right, and that is all of the dragons, so Willard is ready to approach these statues and then final Kefka.
I do want to at least point out that we will have to break away at the 3-hour mark. We do have the free enterprise race coming up after this, so stick around for that. but we'll see. We'll see if Willard can fight his way through.
He could certainly get through Kefka with the levels that everyone has available to them, and the fact that the final battle is actually not scaled. It's honestly one of the easier battles here, and so as long as Willard is able to get through these statues pretty quick, I think he will be all right. But no matter what, I think he's still going to have a pretty competitive time, just because this was a pretty rough seed, especially with the start. Some of the bosses that were in the early checks were pretty rough.
Absolutely, I think the average time for this seed's about 2 hours and 45 minutes. So he's definitely not. You're not looking at a bunch of hour and 20-minute finishes to where you're finishing near the end if you're pushing over 2 hours.
Yep, there was a lot more spread where I feel like there were a lot more times that were a couple minutes apart rather than just seconds, like you might see in other quicker flag sets.
I did see that Willard sent Mog's party, and that will be fighting Funbaba 3. I'm interested to see who else in that party, and hopefully gets through unscathed.
Yep, that I think is the big question mark here. Well, and the goddess and the goddess slot. Those are the two potential walls before KT. Funbaba, because it could mess up your party, and then goddess, because it's goddess.
Yeah, but we've run into goddess so much in the seed, I don't think that's too much of a worry.
Yes, Len, it does have goddess in the goddess spot. We've seen her a couple times, actually, but also in the goddess spot.
This will be a no problem ghost train here. Willard now moving on.
Yep. Really quick boss fight, which is not that surprising. Ghost Train, the scaling can really only do so much. He just does not have very high stats.
Moves on. I believe Dataluma is going to be in the spicy chicken spot.
Yep. Pretty easy fights in this slot, which is kind of nice because this is the party that fights 4 bosses if you're fighting the dragon in this slot.
And Shadow's really been carrying this through.
Yeah, well, it is some really straightforward, simple damage that not a lot of enemies are going to absorb. You know, the Ragnarok obviously having non-elemental damage, and then the Flare proc, and then Illumina's swing is non-elemental, though the Pearl is obviously wholly elemental. Unfortunately, Willard encountering the thing that I always encounter, it is very hard to berserk someone that's wearing an Illumina.
That magic evasion is just way too high.
Yep, and then you add the Ragnarok on top of it, and it's just, you're not going to berserk that character, but you don't need it.
I do want to remind everybody, I know I mentioned it during one of the interviews, but the KGP will be down to its final 4 next week. We are not exactly sure when the first race of our finals will be, but do keep your attention on Randomania, and we'll have the first race of our final 4 at some point next week.
Yep, and if you're interested in getting any more information about the KGP or about the randomizer, you can always go to the Discord. There are channels dedicated to the KGP for right now, so if you have any questions about that, and I'm sure we'll be posting announcements when we do decide on the dates of the final races.
And we have excellent resources, lots of guides for new players. Ravlin, who actually chose the flags for this week's flag set, has been doing Moogle's First Seed, which is a bunch of different types of flags to kind of get you a little bit more associated with how Worlds Collide works.
Yep, and he does them with video accompaniment, so you can choose to watch the video first to get a preview of the seed, or you can try it yourself and then watch the video afterwards to sort of compare to how Ravlin did it. So I think it's a really good initiative to try and get new people into the game, because it can be a bit intimidating to try and learn a randomizer.
Willard, who I know has run in his practice runs, has run into Funbaba in the statue spot, knew immediately to take down 2 of his characters.
I was actually kind of entertained by that, because he was one of the people that mentioned finding this particular Funbaba in one of these spots in his practice seeds. So it's good to see that he learned what to do from those practice seeds, because it's going to help him out here.
Gets through no problem.
And I think that leaves him just the goddess statue and then the final battle left. So
As he moves on to his final statue, I'd like to at least shout out, and I'll put him in the Discord or here in the chat in just a minute. As far as following our runners and following our crew tonight, we all have Twitch accounts, and Jovis, who is restreaming us with us for the first time tonight, and Zelfer, who is one of our better, I would say, better runners, is near the top of the KGP standings. So give us a follow. Quick strats coming out here on the goddess fight.
yep, got to get rid of that goddess as quickly as possible. The flare proc definitely going to help. Unfortunately, with Gogo using that Ragnarok and Illumina, you are really hoping to not get a Pearl proc, but it looks like no Pearl procs yet.
And I don't think either of his characters, well, he can also use magic on Gogo, so he can avoid that love token if necessary.
And it is looking like we're not going to be able to hold for the full 3 hours today. We are getting asked if we could end about 5 minutes before that. So in about 2.5 minutes, we will have to be handing off our stream, just so everyone's aware. But we will continue to watch Willard while he's racing. And then what we'll be doing is hosting him before we switch over. So obviously when Randomania goes live, with their next race, that host will end, but feel free to head over to Willard's channel and cheer him on if you would like to see the end of his run.
Absolutely, he's so close and probably could use all of the support to get through these final couple boss battles here.
Yep. And he, like I said, he's still going to have a fairly competitive time. It's been all over the place this week, and I applaud him for finishing. We did have a few people look at the flags and just decide that they were done with the Kefka Grand Prix after week 7, so...
Yeah, a couple of the runners kind of looked at this and said, yeah, no, I'm good. But that's okay. I'm happy to end on a high requirement seed, because if I ever got to choose the flag sets, we'd probably do something that people wouldn't like and do a 17-20, was it 17, 20, or 14-27-8? Basically all of the requirements.
I think that is literally as many requirements as you can have, yes.
But I'm a fan and a casual player. I'm not a speed runner, so I'm okay with those kind of seeds. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be that bad, Keith.
Again, guys, thanks so much for watching. I've been Von Marlin. It's been a lot of fun doing commentary. I appreciate Randomania letting me do this a couple times. Thanks for checking us out and for chatting with us in the chat and cheering our runners on.
Absolutely. And I'm Radio Guy, and hope everyone had a wonderful night and enjoyed the KGP. Have a wonderful evening. Cool.